bottom, the three.
Okay, so I just hit record. You guys missed all those beautiful. I'm not going to go over it again though.
That's okay, but thank you.
Okay, let's try this again. Share. Okay. So one of the things I want to hit prior to going into objections in general, it's very important. I've literally had trainees kick me under the table when we used to do face-to-face in the overcoming objection process because they felt like I was moving the people to do something that the people didn't want to do. Now, the thing about that is they may not want to do it, but that doesn't mean they don't need to do it, right? And it's our duty to do our best and everything we can to help them understand the purpose of life insurance and help them make a decision to move forward in that. We may feel uncomfortable about it. Our trainee may feel uncomfortable about it, but I would rather feel uncomfortable at the kitchen table or over a Zoom than uncomfortable at that person's funeral, right? What we do is huge. It's very important. It's not a little thing. We aren't selling potions and lotions, right? We are selling financial security for children and widows and, widowers and widows. So it's our duty to do our best and our due diligence and do everything that we can do to help that family make the decision. You don't want to be at a funeral where you sat down with somebody and had the opportunity to help them and you didn't do everything you could do to do it, right? You want to leave there. If they decide not to move forward, you want to leave there knowing you did everything you could do, right? It's not you, which is key. So it's our duty. So literally for some families, it may be their only shot to get the protection in place, right? There's a lot, the insurance industry is kind of dying, so forth. So it's us, we're the ones that it's put on us. We have the responsibility to do it. So make every decision at the kitchen table for the benefit of the kids of that family, right? So when you're talking to the parents, right, understand that you're on the kids' side. You're the one there to help them understand what they're going to do for their children that will be left behind. Because that's what we do. We protect widows and widowers and orphans. So it's very key that we get this right and that you practice these things and you look at objections and you learn them up front and that you're not practicing on the family, that you practice before you get to the family so that you're prepared for when these objections come up because it is a big deal, right? And if you follow a straight line, it should be pretty simple, but I don't take it lightly, right? Simple doesn't mean it's light, okay? It's important. So what is an objection? Understand, because sometimes when you go through the straight line and then somebody suddenly is like, well, I'm not ready to move forward right now. I want to think about it. You might look at that like, what? Like some people look at it like, okay, think about it, right? And they pack up their thing and they actually think they're going to think about it. But other people might be like angry, an objection comes up and they might look at it like, what did I do wrong? They're just looking at the objection wrong. So the first step is to understand what an objection is. So all an objection is because most people, right, they see it as an obstacle standing in their way from accomplishing the goal to, get somebody life insurance. But what it really is a true objection is a request for more information. In the process of the straight line, they missed something. They didn't get it, right? So they need more information to bring them to clarity, right? They have to be at a 10 in clarity on you, trusting you, on the company and the product. So somewhere that's falling short. So they're basically telling you like, I need more information to be able to move forward on this decision. And that's how you have to look at objections, just a request for more information. So another thing though, that's really key is to understand the difference between an objection and a condition, okay? So a condition, okay, is a valid reason for not going ahead. So it might be there's no money, right? They may be uninsurable, have a health issue, and they don't want to tell you about it, right? They may have a criminal background, when it comes to both life insurance and and recruiting, right? If they're a felon, sometimes that's an issue with that. So those might be conditions that literally they can't move forward. But you have to be careful, and especially on the no money one, because sometimes people will tell you they have no money and it's just an objection, meaning they're just not prioritizing this over their coffee, right? But sometimes it's a condition, meaning they don't have any money in there at all, right? They have no money in their bank account at this particular moment. So you don't, if it's a condition, you don't want to like hound them on it, right? And you'll just make them mad. You really have to work through this to identify whether the no money thing is the objection or is it a condition. Now, an objection, on the other hand, is, why is it not clicking? Oh, there you go. An objection is an invalid circumstance. Okay, so it's not valid. It's an invalid circumstance used as a defense mechanism to slow the final decision. So, you know, I want to think about it. Not right now. I don't have the money. Things are challenging. You know, I don't believe in life insurance. You know, I don't care. I'll be dead. All those things are just invalid circumstances. I don't have the time. You know, none of that is true. It's just something they're using as an excuse to put you off, right? So they don't have to make that decision. So when we look at a family, if you leave there and they don't get protection, it's basically going to be for one of three reasons. One, you never actually asked, right, for the close. Some people present this and then they don't actually ask for the close, right?
They talk through it.
Yeah, they talk right beyond it. So the idea is you get to that closing question, whatever your closing question is, would be, so what's your birthday? When do you would you want the money drafted on the beginning of the month or end of the month? You know, mine is, you know, can you guys go get your driver's license? And then I shut up, right? Once they get up to get their driver's license, then now we know we're moving into application. So some people don't even ask. They almost present this like they're at a restaurant and they're a waiter and there's a menu and the people can actually pick and choose, right? But you're a coach, right? You're not a waiter, you're a coach. You're helping them make decisions that are good in the order of the financial house. You got to ask for the close to get the close. The second reason would be there's a condition. They literally don't have the money, those things that I mentioned. And the third reason is that you just couldn't overcome their objection. They gave you one, you thought you overcame it, then they gave you another and another and another, and you couldn't ever bring them from their certainty level of 3, right, to their certainty level of 10 in those areas to move forward in the scenario. So overcoming objections is very key because you want to know, right, you did everything you could to get it done. So this is from Tom Hopkins, okay? How do we overcome objections? There's actually 6 steps to overcoming objections. So when someone gives you an objection, you really want to kind of get this process in your brain of how you're going to handle it. So the first thing that you want to do, right, think of the ear, you want to hear them out. So one of the biggest mistakes that people make is when they get an objection, they're like, oh, I've heard this one, right? They get really excited if they know it, whatever, and they jump on it and they start answering it too soon. And sometimes you can literally create or identify an objection they didn't, like if you didn't take time to hear it out and you think it's one objection, but it's really another, right? You actually created a new objection and didn't even address the one they had in the first place. So it's very important, right, that we use our 2 ears first to hear them out and truly know what the objection is, right? Note of it. Right? Wait till they finish explaining the concern before you go into the rest of the process so that you can make sure that you're answering their true issue. Okay. Now, after that, see the little dog in the feed bag? You want to think of feeding it back. You want to feed it back to them because in addition, even though you heard them out, you may not have truly understood what their objection was. So by feeding back the objection, you're ensuring that you understand what they're saying. Right? You understand what is holding them back from making the decision and closing the sale. So it confirms that and identifies you as a professional and you're being courteous and you're showing them that you're listening and that you're trying to truly understand their concern. Now, this part's not necessarily scripted, right? You're going to figure out a way to repeat it back. So let's say that, you know, they're like, I don't know, you know, money's really tight right now. I just don't think we can do this. Okay, so what I hear is that you feel you can't afford this much protection, so cost is pretty important to you right now. True? Yes, right. So you're going to have to figure, and you want it as a question. You're questioning, you hear the concern, you want to ask them, so is this what you're saying? Is basically the idea. It won't be in a script, but so is this what you're saying? So what I hear you saying is, right, is that true? Is that correct? Because you want to make sure that you're going to address the correct scenario, that you have it right in your head and their head, so you guys can move forward. Okay. Now the next thing is you need to question its importance, because some objections matter to them and some don't. Sometimes they're putting in an objection out there that really they don't really need the information to make the decision. They're just asking, they're conversating, right? So, you want to question its importance. So let's say they say, well, so how long does it take? It's like, how long is the licensing procedure? And you're thinking, oh, they're going to think it's forever. So, you say, okay, so is the time that it takes to get licensed really an important issue to you? Or will you just, take the amount of time it takes to get? And like, oh, well, no, not really. I was just curious. Okay, great. It takes about a week. So that's not really an objection. So you got to question the importance of it. Because if it's not even important, we don't need to, right, move forward with it. It's kind of, that settles that, doesn't it? Now, once you've identified, yes, it's an important objection, what you're going to do is you're going to want to answer it. Okay. So we need to answer it. A professional always know the main area of concerns client may have and is prepared to answer it. So I already talked about being, prepared. Know your scripts, be patient, be empathetic, treat the objection with respect, and answer it to their satisfaction. So if you can't answer it, so let's say you're kind of newer or it's one that you're not prepared for, this is not necessarily a time to wing it. You want to, if it's something that they ask you, like, how's this work? Or, they'll ask something like, I don't know, whatever. But if it's one you don't know the answer to, then you want to let them know, like, wow, that's a really great question. Let me make note of that because I don't want to answer it improperly. And I can reach out to, my manager at the office, make sure I get the right answer back to you. You don't want to wing it. If you don't know the answer to an important question like that, right? I've literally, when I first started, I would be on my own and someone would ask me a question. I'd be like, wow, that's a great question. I'm not quite sure of that. Let me do this. Let me reach out to Gordon right now. He's my manager, and get that info because I want to make sure I give you the right info. Hold on. And then I literally have called. I have trainees that have called me, right? I will answer anytime I'm going to answer the phone because I don't know. They may be sitting at a kitchen table because they have a question they don't know the answer to. So if you don't know the answer, that's okay, but get the answer for them, right? There's nothing wrong with doing that. I'm going to answer it. Now, once you answer the objection, right, you want to make sure, you want to confirm that it settles the objection. So don't assume that you gave them the answer that means that the objection is settled. So you want to confirm it. So did that answer your question? Right? Is that all the information you need, or did you want me to explain further? Right? Does that make sense to you? Yes. Okay. So then you're going to confirm that before you move on. And the way to move on is you got to change gears. Once it's answered, let's move back. So it's kind of like looping, right? You're coming down the straight line. They give you an objection. You kind of go off this trail to answer it, but now we got to get back to the straight line. So by the way, did you want to do the draft on the 27th, towards the end of the month, or in the beginning of the month? Oh, the beginning of the month's good. Okay, great. I just need to see your driver's licenses, right? Boom, back to closing. So you're going to want to follow those 6 steps, change your gears, all that to go through the process when an objection comes up. So now Gordon, who you guys know is the man of the man, I think Gordon, quite possibly, I've learned more from Gordon in all my years than any other person out there. Just sitting, listening, learning helped me so much. He's always been willing, even though I'm not on his team, for me to call him and help guide me through. And I always know he's going to give me a good answer and a heart, like a answer from the heart, because he always cares about his clients. So I don't think there's any better person to go over the actual objections, because he always handles it like so calm and even keel. And he never gets flustered by them. So it's very impressive. And you guys pay attention to him, because he's going to kind of hit for you the rest of the aspect. Did you want to use your own, Gordon, or are we going through the same presentation?
I can pull mine up, so I've got a little bit more control. That's great.
Yeah. Okay.
Great job, Allison. Everybody, Allison, do a good job. Hey,
Awesome.
Christian's been saying this, and I'll agree with him 100%. We've got to be, if we're on Zoom, let's be on Zoom. That means cameras on, unmuted, ready to talk, ready to interact. If you're here, let's be here, right? We're only here for a short period of time, and we're all here to get better. Would you agree?
Yes.
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 All right.
Yes.
So, and I think, if we're all in it, let's get all in it. Let's do this together. So,
Hey, Gordon.
hey, Deepak, what's up, stud?
Good, man. Hey, we had 40 people with Christian David on new associate orientation.
40?
40.
That's great, guys. That's great.
That's awesome.
Recruiting is up. Inviting is up. We had, it was good to see you on there, Deepak, and Monroe was on there introducing some folks. So
I have 4 people there. That's good. I'm happy after a long time.
good.
But good,
Hey, this piece, overcoming objections, is crucial in your business. That the more you do the business, you'll find that you eliminate objections by how you present. Okay. And a lot of that is done with a professional presentation, whether you're doing, I think let's just say the main thing is the presentation from Christian David with the PowerPoints. Some of you do be dollar smart, but the main thing about a presentation is to eliminate the objections before they even come up. You brag on them, and have a testimony. Today's not testimony training, but if you don't have a testimony, guys, you're missing half the battle. We all need to speak from the heart. Why are you in the business? This is a financially independent, focused business. And if you're not financially independent, you don't have millions of dollars. That's why you buy life insurance, right? You buy life insurance because all these people that are out there don't have a lot of money. So they need life insurance. All right. Any questions from what Allison covered so far? Any questions or comments before we jump into next few pieces? All right.
Now, I have a quick one, Gordon. If in case I had a question and I wanted to get in contact with you, Allison said you're the best. What's the best way to get in contact with you, and would that be okay with you?
That's fine with me. And it's Telegram, or you can always have my cell phone number, 443-398-4448. Somebody wants to put that. Can somebody put that in the chat? 443-398-4448. Just put my cell in the chat. And I'm pretty, it's interesting. Teammates, my teammates don't call me a whole heck of a lot. I got some people never call me, and I got people calling me from other organizations. So I know Christian says that too. People don't call him. I call Christian. I've always wanted to call Christian and wear him out, man, because I want what he's got. You know what I mean? I call
people don't call us.
People don't call us. So I don't have a problem sharing it. I got teammates think that they're bothering me. So I want people to make money here because it gets rid of the stigma out there that people don't make money in our business. Our business is a cash cow, man. If you are a pro, you make a lot of money. Amateurs, what was the saying that we heard recently? Amateurs, what is it about amateurs? This is like, if you treat this like a hobby, you're an amateur, you're going to put money into it. You're not going to get money out of it. Professionals get paid. I forget.
Amateurs get exercise.
Amateurs get exercise, pros get paid. I don't know about you, but I like to get paid every freaking day. I looked at my pay this morning and I was disappointed it wasn't in the thousands. It was just under $1,000. It's like every day. I'm pretty disappointed.
I just got paid 4,600 last night, man.
I know, Deepak. I'm like, I want to get $1,000 a day. If I'm not making $1,000 like every day, I'm like a little disappointed. But you don't get there from day one, Melissa. You're going to get there if you stick around, if you stay in the getting better program and getting to where you're closing. So anyway, let's pull this up and get going. 3 tracks for objections. No insurance, and we're talking about life insurance. So no life insurance. They have work insurance only. That's probably the dominant one that we run into today. And then current insurance. I'm excited if they have insurance because I know they're already setting aside money for insurance, and 90% of those people have messed up. Most people that buy life insurance get the wrong kind. Why is that? Why? Anybody help me interact?
They're just done now. They're not educated.
No, lack of education. And if you're not educated and you go out and you start shopping for life insurance, what are you going to end up with?
What you're sold with.
All life insurance is sold, not bought, right?
Yeah, it's all sold. Good news. People don't get up Saturday morning and do it themselves. There's no self-directed online sites to buy it. Even if you do select quote, they're calling you like madmen every 30 seconds to try to get you to buy, and they have reps all over the place. And by the way, I just found out Select Quote likes to sell whole life. They don't like to do term, and their term sucks. It's cheap, but it sucks. So anyway, no insurance, work insurance, current insurance. Those are the 3 things you run into. And almost always, if you're in the right market, there's going to be an opportunity for you to improve what they have. All tracks have objections rooted in different places. You just got to figure out where they are. No insurance generally is rooted in total financial ignorance or selfishness. If they don't have anything, they're either totally ignorant or they're selfish. Would you agree? I think it's just, that's it. And we've got to disturb them. And that's why the 10 times rule, that's why we got to have testimonies. That's why you got to share stories. The top producers in our business, Tony and Shelly and Lorraine, came and they say they don't do a lot of presentations. They just tell a lot of stories. I recently paid $1 million claim to 4 people, the wife and 3 boys. And what happened was I was in a field training appointment with a physical therapist. The guy buys $500,000 in coverage. He's like this karate guy, gets preferred. He only gets a 10-year term. 10 years later, he's renewing. I didn't know this. He's battling pancreatic cancer at the renewal. 2 years later, he's dead. I get a message from his spouse who I'd never met. He had recently married her. And she said he died. He succumbed to cancer. I'm like, holy smokes. They never reached out to me. They could have had a terminal illness benefit paid out. They didn't call me. They struggled to pay this life insurance, I learned later on, because the cost jumped up. It was a 10-year renewal. And I remember doing the Zoom with this guy, Deepak. He gave me a little flack because it went from like, $100 a month. By the way, he started out with $500,000. Because of our increasing benefit rider, it was $1 million at death. That's a big benefit. So it doubled his coverage. He's now paying like $400 a month. Well, he was upset with me. He was like, man, you're just trying to make a lot. I'm like, dude, it's just the way life insurance works. You're older. And I didn't know he had pancreatic cancer. He should have been thanking us like crazy. So for 2 years, they paid that. They paid like 10 grand, but I delivered $1 million to that family. Life insurance is important, isn't it?
Yes.
Very important.
Is there anything more important than protecting your family?
No.
Nope.
I don't know of anything. Okay. Work insurance objections are generally rooted in lack of understanding as well as penny pinching. Lack of understanding. I think there we go. So if you have something at the job, it's just you don't understand. And what is it you don't understand? If you go through our system, you'll understand that work insurance is one of the best. Why? What's the clause that's written into all work insurance? Actively at work clause. And we already have that in our presentation. Do you know we're so far advanced from everybody else in this prime America business? If you go to other offices, they don't have this. They don't have the KT Masterpiece. They don't have the tool that we have. We all need to be so excited about running out there to go meet people and talk to them because our presentations are unlike anybody else in the business. I've met people over the years that go, I didn't know you don't even talk like you're in Prime America. I would have never known you're in Prime America. And I go, I'm not. I'm in Prime America. You dealt with an amateur. I'm a pro.
That
Work
is
insurance.
awesome.
So it's just because they don't know about the actively at work clause, and you got to share it with them. Current insurance objections are generally tied into analysis of paralysis. And by the way, that's a killer. A lot of people, you know, they want to analyze. Send me this, send me that, send me this. I don't want to send you anything. Do you have a need? How many times hey, by the way, think about this. Because somebody the other day, Eric had somebody say, "Hey, can you send me the disclosures? Can you send me the reviews? Can you send me?" I'm like, "Good Lord, people don't understand the way life insurance works. Otherwise, they wouldn't ask those silly things." Because here's the reality. The reality is when they were on the car lot and they were excited about going into debt for $40,000, were they allowed to leave without auto insurance?
Nope.
Did they check and did they review the insurance companies when they got somebody that said, "Hey, we got Allstate, they're going to give you insurance for $200," or "We got Elephant, they're going to give you insurance for $150," or "We got whatever"? Did they go, "Well, can you send me the disclosures? And can you what did they do? Did they do that?"
No.
No.
So that's it's a poor. We got to set them up and say, "Look, guys, you might think, hey, let me and you need to learn to brag on those later on." We had somebody asking about, "Hey, do you have this and this and this?" If that person has kids, when do they need life insurance?
Right now.
Why, Carl?
Because they could die any day.
They could die any day. Do you know we have people that cannot get life insurance that want to get life insurance?
Yep.
Everybody that gets diagnosed with something, and by the way, there's somebody at Sinai Hospital today, they're getting bad news. There's somebody at GBMC getting bad news. There's somebody at the VA getting bad news. Why? They had a heart attack. They had a stroke. They had a seizure. Is that true, nurses?
Yep.
So do you really want to? Do you want to gamble with your family? Do you want to gamble with your kids? Or do you want to get some protection with your kids?
Get some protection.
Protection.
Current insurance objections are generally tied to paralysis. We got to help them not be paralyzed. And that's a testimony. Give them some stories. Give them some testimonies. No insurance. Generally, it's a stall. Remember, they haven't made the decision so far. So they're probably not going to when you leave. So if they don't have anything and you don't get them protected, they're probably not going to do it when we're gone. So we're off the Zoom. Don't expect them to all of a sudden make a decision and come back to the table. You need a follow-up. You need a next. One thing I've learned is if you generate some, you disturb them, you create an explosion of, making them feel uncomfortable by the appointment. You can only do it on the appointment when you have the chance. You need a next with them, because if you don't, what's going to happen is they're not going to do anything. And I don't want to be in a business where I'm having to call and follow up with people. Are you ready now? Are you ready now? Are you ready now? Because what I found is I don't feel good when I am in that business. Anybody agree with me? Anybody like chasing people?
No.
I hate it. I don't like being in the business of chasing people. And what I want to make sure I do is disturb them on the appointment so I don't get that. Okay? Follow the process. Today isn't decision day. Why? Because if you go through the timeline, which I'm not going through, it's on the KT Masterpiece, the timeline will walk them through the process. And it's just like, hey, if you went to, anybody here ever applied to go to a college or a university?
Yep.
Recently. Maybe somebody recently put in an application to go to college. I know some of you guys are like raising your hand, but that was 40 years ago.
My daughter did.
Okay. So Deepak's daughter, anybody else put in an application to go to a local college? Come on. Nobody?
About 3 years
Okay.
ago.
I'm in the process
not
of gambling
recently.
for myself.
A lot did. You put in some paperwork to go to a university. Is that right, a lot?
Yeah, 3 years ago, I put in an application
Okay. Where was it?
to a bunch of places.
Bunch of places. Now, when you put in those applications, this is, by the way, overcoming an objection and taking an application. So, Alap, when you put in those applications to go to those different universities, did you pay a fee sometimes to put in the application?
Yeah, it costs $20 per app.
$40 per app. So when you
20.
submitted that $40 and submitted an application, let's say to the University of Florida, because you live in Florida, let's say you also applied to Duke University and you sent in these applications. Let's say they send back a letter and say, hey, Alap, congratulations, you made it. And University of Florida gives you an acceptance, and Duke, and you want to go to Duke. Do you have to take the acceptance to the University of Florida?
No.
You don't have to take it, man. So you got accepted, you paid the money, you put in the application. You don't have to take it. You might decide to go somewhere else. The same thing works in our business a lot. What we would have to do is find out if we could get you the coverage. So while we're going through this disclosure, this, that, whatever, why don't we see if we can get you the coverage? Why don't we submit an application? Because here's what it'll do. It's a magical thing a lot that a lot of people don't realize. If you submit an application with this $40, whatever the premium might be, maybe it's $70, maybe it's $80. But if you submit this application and you decide you're not going to go with it, we're going to send you that $40 back or that premium back. There's no risk. Unlike you're applying to Jacksonville University or Florida University or Duke University, they don't return that money, do they?
No.
That's a lost fee. Ours is you're putting a payment down towards a premium for insurance in the future. So why don't we take the application, submit it? What's going to happen is you're going to get some conditional coverage after you do the medicals. So if you submit this application, you'll have some conditional coverage, so you'll have some peace of mind. And it doesn't cost you anything. It's called free conditional coverage. So why don't we apply while we're together? It only takes us about 15 minutes. We can apply. We can give you the free conditional coverage while you're shopping around. And so let me ask you a very important question, Alap. If you could be covered for free, your kids could make sure, God forbid, something happens to you, because could something happen to you in the next 4 to 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Is it possible?
Yes.
Yeah. So why don't we take the risk away from your family? Take the application, submit it, see what happens, and we'll get back together in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and review everything and see if you want to go to our college, see if you want to take our coverage. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, that sounds good.
That's the good old college close. Put yourself in our shoes. Hey, Alap, since you agreed, I'm going to keep going with you. Hey, Alap, I want you to be the licensed guy. My family is at risk. I got only work coverage. I can have $800,000 in coverage for $80. You're the agent, and I'm stalling. And I'm saying, well, I want the disclosures. I want to read these disclosures. I want to do some analysis. I want to check with other companies. Oh man, I need like a couple weeks to review and just think about this. Right? And I'm stalling. And you're the agent. And God forbid I die 2 weeks from now. I'm analyzing. wait, Alap. I don't want to, I'm afraid of making a bad decision. Alap, I die. My spouse calls you. Alap, I know you met with Gordon. I saw it in his calendar. You met with him 2 weeks ago. I know you're a licensed agent for Primerica. I looked you up. I saw your name. I was trying to figure out who you were because I'm trying to put the pieces together. And I was so glad because I figured out you were a Primerica rep, and I know Primerica does term life insurance for really cheap. And you could have, my husband probably, because he's a smart dude. Remember, you're getting this phone call from my wife. I'm dead. How are you going to feel if you're taking that phone call and you find out I'm dead and my wife thinks that there was an application taken and there's probably some conditional coverage? What are you going to, how are you going to feel?
I'll feel pretty bad that I have to tell them that the only reason they aren't getting paid is because he stalled or delayed.
And you don't want to put it all on me, but you're going to feel a little bit of responsibility for not at least getting the application in, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to feel a little guilty?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
I
You're
guess
like-
so.
You're going to be like, damn it.
You don't have insurance.
I could have delivered $800,000 to this lady, but now I can't do anything. So guys, we have a responsibility. Put yourself in our shoes. I have done that with agents before. I mean, with clients before, I say, man, put yourself in my shoes. I don't want, put yourself in your friend's shoes. You have the ability to take that risk away today. We can do it. Submit an application. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, no risk to you. They've taken all the gotchas out of it. Why wouldn't you try? Funeral close. I don't even know if we need a funeral close, but I don't even, the funeral close. Hey, what if, I think it's the same type of thing. Look,
Yeah.
you go to the funeral and what's everybody say when you go, what's everybody thinking? At least me, I don't know. I've been thinking this way for years. If you go to a funeral, what's everybody thinking about the person that died?
I hope they had coverage.
They had life insurance.
Everybody's thinking, man, everybody's sitting there going, I hope the family's not going to struggle. At some point they're thinking, man, I hope that family's not going to struggle. And I just don't want anybody in your, I don't want any, you shouldn't want any of that ever to happen. So the whole idea of that happening is scary enough to think, why wouldn't you try? Why wouldn't you submit an application? Because there are people that stall every day, and we got to be able to walk them through some logic and some emotion and say, look, if we're all at the funeral, I don't want somebody to nudge me and go, hey, I understand you work for Primerica. You do term life insurance. You could have had $500,000. She could have had $500,000 for $50. Everybody would trade $500,000 for $50. So, A, B close would be A, this is what you have. B, this is what you have. Why wouldn't you? And Christian kind of does that every morning. That's the comparison close, because you really should be able to do that while you're with your client. This is what you have. This is what we recommend. It's logical, guys. What's the real reason? Can I just really seriously ask you a question a lot? We've talked about this. You don't have any coverage. You got 2 kids, you got a spouse, but you're not making a decision. Can you just be honest with me? Can you tell me what's holding you back?
I don't think I need it.
And you got 2 kids and a wife, right? And you make $100,000 a year. And if you died, the family loses $100,000, right?
Yeah.
So what's the family going to do?
I don't know. I don't like thinking about death, so I never thought about that.
Okay, but I know nobody likes thinking about death, but could you die?
Yeah.
Could anybody die tomorrow? I mean, I can ask you, hey, do you know your birth date? And you're going to go, it's June, whatever, but do you know your death date?
I do not.
Nobody does. It's the great mystery of life. So why would you gamble with your 2 children and your wife and not have protection for them? Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
It doesn't, does it? Hey, by the way, for financial commitment, write this down. And I like this, and this works almost 100% of the time. Hey, Alap, you make 100 grand a year, right? That's $8,000 a month. Would it make sense to set aside of that $8,000 anywhere from between 1, maybe as high as 3% of that income to protect 100% of the quality of life that income provides your family? So 1% to 3%. So what that means is, would it make sense to set aside $80 and as much as $240? But usually it's on the south side. It's 1% to 2%. So it's like between 80 and 160. Would it make sense to set aside 1% to 2% of that income to protect 100% of the quality of life of that family, of your wife, Jennifer, of your wife, whatever, and your kids? And it's good to know the names of the spouse and the kids, because I would bring them up then, of little Alap, of little, I would say, hey, does that make sense?
Yeah.
You got to get them logically to say, hey, this makes sense. You're talking about $80? Yeah, I'm talking about $80. Not talking about a whole heck of a lot of money. Any questions on that? I'm going to give you a bonus one that's not in there. Follow the process. Here's another one that I've used that I like. Has anybody ever heard of somebody else that's not spoken to me? Anybody else on here that's new? Melissa, can you talk?
Yeah.
Thank you. Melissa, Do you know a guy by the name of Dr. Phil?
I do.
And what's Dr. Phil do?
A lot of things. He's a counselor. He has a TV show.
Yeah. He walks people through like solving like problems in their life. That's his main gig. I know he's gotten into doing other things, but his main thing is he's like a psychologist or a therapist, counselor, like you said. So let's say, and by the way, can I talk to you like I'm your brother?
Yeah, please.
Okay. And I noticed just from talking to you on Zoom that you've got a family. You've got, now this works better if you potentially know some things about them or have even been into their home. So, and this is why, because I've noticed just from interacting with you and I've known you over time that you guys, you guys go out to dinner occasionally and have nice meals. I know that you like to have a glass of wine because I've seen that before and I've seen you spend money on things like that stuff. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. And you gave me permission to talk to you like I'm a family member, right?
Yes, I did.
So if Dr. Phil, by the way, Dr. Phil says money flows to what you value. Does that make sense?
It does.
So if you value your family, you'll have money go towards your family. If you value alcohol, you'll have money go towards alcohol. If you value eating out, you'll have money go towards eating out. So if we can talk about your family and protecting your family, is that very important?
It's very, very important. Yes.
That's what you value that, correct?
Yes.
So if you'll spend money on things like going out to dinner and alcohol and traveling and vacation, wouldn't it make sense to spend a little bit of money to protect your family?
It does completely.
Yeah. So let's look at some numbers, okay?
Okay.
I got to get people, man, moving on that. I got to get people to set aside some money. Sometimes we don't get the money commitment and we want to close and it doesn't work. So I like the 1 to 3%. I'm getting them to commit to something. Some people might say, hey, how much would you be willing to set aside out of every paycheck? Is $50 out of every paycheck enough? Because then you got $100 a month, right? Get them to commit to the dollar amount. We know about Actively at Work. It's already in the presentation. Maryland State certificate's already in the application. We've gotten that over the years. Urgency has got to be there. You got to have a sense of urgency. You can't let them off the Zoom. You got to have a next with them for everybody that stalls. Hey, I know you're processing. Can we schedule a next to get back together? Because I know I wanted to talk to you about this and this, or I wanted to do your budget, or I wanted to do your cash flow plan. You got to have a next. Has anybody ever seen the Tennessee Teacher YouTube?
No.
Has everybody seen it, by the way, or nobody's seen it? You never saw it?
I've never seen it.
You mind if I pull it up?
Sure.
I've got this saved. Now, whether I can find it or not is the question. So give me 1 second and I'll share that with you. It's a video that I have pulled up and I will pull up if needed. Play my video. Oh, here it is. Yeah, sweet.
Do you like having a P.O. box but are tired of wasting time and money?
I know, I'm just waiting for the ad to kill.
Well, she knew her husband was done.
You're not sharing it, Gordon. It's you. We got the PowerPoint still. There you go.
I know. I hear you guys. I was working on it. You guys are funny. All right. Now I got to do sound. Share sound. Okay.
We just didn't want a 3-minute Christian issue.
I know. All right.
Dying, of course, that was hard enough. Now the widow of a longtime Plano teacher is dealing with an insurance headache that started with a miscommunication and 11 days. Channel 8's Steve Stoller explains.
He loved teaching those kids.
Robert Williams taught math at Plano West Senior High and coached the hockey club there, too. Last summer, he was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer and underwent chemotherapy. Though weak, he went to teach on the first day of school. It didn't go well.
He said he wasn't able to keep up. Sometimes the kids would ask him questions and he'd have to think about it.
Williams took sick time. His wife says he went to the district's Human Resources Department to make sure there were no issues with his life insurance policy because the district had just changed companies.
They said, look, you signed up on time, you're paying your premium, everything's fine. Go home, get well.
2 weeks later, Williams died. Susan Williams filed a claim to collect on his insurance policy, but it was denied. The policy required the longtime teacher to work 1 day, September 1st, or any day after September 1st. Robert Williams was there August 21st, 11 days too early.
Had they had told him that he had to work 1 day, he would have gone in and worked a day, because then his policy would have been in effect and he wouldn't have had any problems.
Susan Williams says her husband went to his grave thinking his family would be taken care of. They have a son with special needs.
It hurts. And if they have done it to my husband, don't think for 1 minute they're not going to do it to some other teacher that, you know, works forever in the school district and then something happens.
Plano ISD Superintendent Richard Matkins sent us a written statement late this afternoon. District leaders say their old and new insurance carriers reviewed the Williams claim along with an independent reviewer. But the outcome did not change. So the Williams still cannot collect on the $250,000 life insurance policy. Live in Frisco, Steve Stoller, Channel 8 News.
So that's that video and I've used that. I haven't used it in a long time, but that is a video. If you feel like you want it, I'll put it in the group. It might already be there, but it's buried from years ago, but I or somebody could put it in there. Hey, one other thing before we finish this up. Few other options we can talk about, and then we can open it up. But stop share. Let me just share with you. I had a client that I learned a lot from. You're either learning or you're making money. Okay. There's two things in this business, or you're not working. You could not work and nothing happens and you're depressed, you're frustrated. That's no fun. If you're working, you're running, 4 appointments a week, and you're learning the business. I had a client, and by the way, today, both kids, Roth IRAs, young 20s, wife, full service client. Husband doesn't talk to me a whole lot, but he doesn't talk to many people, and it's just who he is. But he's semi-retired. He bought a couple of homes, got a little bit of money saved. Anyway, but I went to see them. I had a rep ask me to go see him. So I drove an hour to go see this family. And the husband stalled. So the husband was a high income earner, an executive at a company downtown Baltimore. Wife's a nurse. They need life insurance, Deepak. He stalls. He's like, well, let me think about it and make a decision on the first time. You go corporate. And I'm like, I'm sitting there and I'm intimidated because I'm a district leader, Melissa. I'm like district going, oh my God, I don't even, what do I do? I go to training that week, and at training, here's what somebody said. Hey, and Christian said this. He says, if you're going to the doctor, do you want an honest doctor that tells you like it is? Or do you want one that's just really nice, makes you feel good, prescribes you with whatever whatever the current drugs are? Or do you want the one that's honest and says, look, you got to lose some weight. You're killing yourself. Your diet's killing. Which doctor do you want? The honest one or the nice one?
Honest one.
And I'm sitting in training on a Monday, and Christian says that, and I'm like, I want the damn honest doctor. I don't want the nice doctor. I want the honest doctor. Get off your fat butt. Go do some walking. You don't want to go down the path of this, whatever. So I'm thinking, okay, I want the honest doctor. So I get that idea, and I call him up, and I say, hey, dude, hey, Cody. So I get this idea, and here's what I did. Remember, no protection. I didn't do my job. I'm feeling a certain way. So I call him up. I'm nervous. I don't want to do it. And I say, hey, Isaac. I just gave his name. Jehoshaphat, whatever. I said, hey, dude, can I meet you for lunch? I got an idea. I wanted to share something with you. I just wanted to get in front of him again. Remember, you always want to get back in front of people. you better have some reason to get back in front of them, whether it's their investments, whether it's whatever. I just want to get back and I want to have a lunch with you. He agrees to meet me for lunch. I go downtown the city, I meet him. He comes down his high-rise corporate, meet him for lunch. And I go, hey, Jehoshaphat, if you go to the doctor, do you want an honest doctor? And I'm using the same thing I just got at training. This is like, or do you want the nice doctor? And we're eating this meal, sitting outside downtown Baltimore. And he says, well, I want an honest doctor. I said, me too. That's what I said. Can I be honest with you? He said, yeah. I said, I left your house the other night and I felt sick. And the reason I felt sick is because you got no life insurance coverage outside of work. And we had proposed you put $500,000 of protection on you, $250,000 on the, I don't remember what it was. And it was only like $100. And I didn't feel good I haven't felt good since I left. Why? Because I know I've paid claims and nobody thinks they're going to die. And it's bothered me. Is there a reason why you didn't move forward? And he said, Gordon, he said, can you come by the house tomorrow night? And I said, yes, I can. And I went by there and protected him. I drove down an hour to his house, met with him and his wife, and he respected me like nothing else. He didn't act the same way to me ever again. He was like, okay, this guy is not backing down. This guy cares. Use that, guys, with people that are stalling. Hey, do you want a good doctor?
Good, thank you.
You want a
Thanks,
crappy
Gordon.
doctor?
That was good.
Get back in front of them. Hey, Assad says, man, I know you care about my family. I care about your family. I cared about that guy's family. Today, 20 years later, they're still my clients. He's a little wonky still. I like her. I like the kids, but he's a little weird. But I think he's weird. I think he's just weird. You know, sometimes you run into weird people. But so, you know, what are some of the things as we wrap up here? A few other options. You run into sometimes, I don't even run into return of premium anymore, but it's out there. There's annual renewable term. There's paid up whole life. There's no money. I want to talk to my agent. When should you be offered the best product? You know, if you got sold the wrong stuff, that's another point. Christian brought that up. Hey, if that's what he sold you, when should the agent bring the right stuff to the table? Wayne had the wrong stuff. Wayne and Lynette, vice presidents. I had to go back. I had to really hold it to him because they submitted an app, but then he almost balked because he was going to go back to State Farm. And I said, Wayne, when should you be offered the best product? He said, from day one. If you're going to trust somebody, they should offer you what they have from day one. I said, I did. They didn't. How long do you want to keep doing business with somebody that wasn't honest from day one? With or without the coverage, if you're going to shop around. Makes sense to shop around like a lop. I'm going to get him to take that app. Get the conditional coverage. I'll wait to the end of mine, then switch. What buys insurance? Age and health. That's all there really is. That's overcoming objections. You got to get from the heart. You got to figure out. And by the way, sometimes you got to have a couple of these down. You might have to use a few. You might have to be a Dr. Phil. You might have to put them in your shoes. You might do a couple, and then you better have some testimonies. Questions, open it up. It's 10 o'clock.
Hey, Gordon.
Hey.
So I have been, I don't know, I had an appointment yesterday, a training appointment, and she was just very, oh, I got that. I'm doing that. I do this already. I do that already. And Miss Denise was telling her, you know, was trying to explain to her, a lot of people think they do it because she said that she does like compound interest with her credit union and she's got life insurance. She's already debt stacking. She's already doing those things. When somebody comes at you like that, what have you found is the best way to kind of curtail what they're saying and try to not tell them that they're not doing it, but to try to help them understand what we mean by doing it?
Do you know them pretty well or not so well?
She is my neighbor. She lives right across the street from me.
She's your neighbor?
Yeah.
Hey, I would almost, my thought process on the neighbor is to say, hey, look, you know what? That's awesome. I'm glad you're doing all the right things. You're probably doing better than most. But can I ask you a question on the Rule of 72? Because did you go through the Rule of 72? Because it's not usually in our application or it's not in that process.
We did the video, but
yeah, I would almost want to go back to the Rule of 72 and remind her that banks and credit unions' job is to not teach us that, not apply that to us. That's for them to use against us and abuse us with it. And then the other thing you could potentially do is say, look, if you got something better, I'll show you, can I show you what I've done? And if you have coverage, show her what you've done. Show her your policy, pull it out and say, look, you know what? I know we're not the same age, but this is what I did. Let's be transparent. What do you have? Because I might want to get what you have at the credit union. I want to see it. Because if you can get them to pull it out and show what it is, and then you say, look, you know what? Wow. Amazing. Amazing. It ain't that good, is it? Because here's mine. Let's look at yours. What do you got? That's what I got. And you only got, man, why is it you only got 25,000 at the credit union and you're paying $50 for it? What if we could take the $50? Then you go back to that closing page that Christian has and you say, look, what if we can take the same, and you just pull that out? And then you get the conversation going again. So it would almost be an empathetic thing of, hey, let's just compare. This is what I got. I want to see what you got, because I might want to go down to that credit union tomorrow because I want the best for my family. Do you want, you obviously, right?
Okay.
And you want the best for your family too, right?
Yes.
Call her on that because she's bluffing. She's putting up baloney.
Yeah, she seemed very guarded.
She's
for a
guarded.
good bit of the call. So like I don't want to make the relationship rocky. My kids go to her house, her kids come here. So,
Cool.
I just want her to understand, because she's a parole officer. She's a probation and parole officer. So a lot of her benefits are like through the state. And I'm not, incredibly familiar with everything that they offer, but I know that she probably doesn't have enough.
You know what's true? Here's what I found's true of everybody that's correctional officer, parole officer, police officer. Guess what? All those people, their perception, everybody's got goggles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their goggles are looking at what's wrong, where's the crime, where's the problem, not what's right. Does that make sense? They're always looking for the gotchas, and you got to try to help them through that because their goggles are that way. So the only way you can do that is just be kind of transparent with them and say, look, I want to, any chance you'd meet with me again, just me and you, and not Denise, not my trainer, and just be prepared and be transparent and say, look, this is what I did. I'm just curious what you got at the credit union, because heck, maybe I need to get licensed and go work with the credit union. If their stuff is way better, it ain't. It's not. Yeah. Denise is not going to. Denise doesn't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about it. The credit union's garbage.
Okay.
Anybody dealing with it? By the way, that I had that come up. Hold on.
Credit union is garbage. Totally is. We got Navy Federal with the state.
Hey, I got. So this happened this week. And I'm confident because I've been doing this 20 years. Credit unions are garbage. They're the same as banks. They're just smaller. They do the same exact thing the way they make their profit. They make their profit off of fees and expenses and paying low returns. That's what they do. And they want to sell the garbage products. So this client sends me a message. She gets money out of her FAB account, and she's supposed to open a money market account. And she says, what's your high return yield? And I know that's a banking term. And I say, our money market pays 4.9%. Oh, well, Navy Fed's going to give me 5.3. I'm a Navy Fed client. I've been doing business with Navy Fed for my whole life. That's my primary bank. So I get on Navy Fed and I look it up, and they do have 5.3, but guess what it is? Anybody want to tell me how they offer 5.3?
CD?
If they have maybe 1 million.
Oh.
No, check this out, Augusto. If it's in the same product, a money market account, and a money market account, you have access to it anytime you want. Okay. You can pull the money out next month. You can pull the money out right after you put it in. You got 3 to 5 days. You can get it. Their money market with $1 million didn't even pay 1%. Maybe it was 2%. I'm sorry. It paid 2%, but you had to have $1 million to get 2%. The only thing they had that was paying 5.3 was a 12-month CD that converted to, after the 12 months, it converted back to their regular savings account, which was 0.02%. So they would pay 5.3, but it was only 12 months, and you could only put a maximum of 3,000 in there. So
Yeah,
I sent a message
because
back to her,
CD, you
Gusto,
have
and
to
I
put a
said,
certain amount in.
I said, I bank with Navy Fed, so let me just tell you what they're going to do. If you pull the money out in 6 months, let's say you need it, because this is an emergency fund. Let's say you need it, you're going to get penalized and you ain't getting the 5.3. Whereas we're paying 4.9% at the end of every month. You're getting an interest check. Theirs is going to be credited on the 12th month. So you can play their game, but they're playing a game. And I looked across the board, none of their accounts paid anything more. It was $1 million, and it might have paid close to 2%, but that's ridiculous. So garbage.
and people only see the numbers, high numbers, but they don't read.
They don't read
what the small letters say.
The bold print giveth,
and the small taken away.
Every single time. So you can be confident and know and say, hey, look, you know what? She's going to be lucky if I set that account up, because I get paid nothing to set up those emergency funds. So I got to take my time. I got to educate her, but I already have a Roth IRA. I don't know why she would even do that, but whatever. Can't win them all. All you can do is, you can lead a horse to water. Can't help them all.
Can't make it drink.
Yeah, can't make it drink. Or Christian says you can't make them fly or whatever, So any other objections or questions on that?
Hey, Gordon,
Good
I got a
job,
question
Gordon and
about
Allison.
some people are doing these, some people